Well, hello, good morning, good evening to some of you out there. My name is Margaret Pennard. I'm a historical fiction and fantasy author, and you are on Booktube. So, welcome to this celebration of Christmas book tags, by which I mean I have several recent tags that are Christmas themed, and I wanted to highlight them. So it's sort of two, sort of three tags. You'll figure it out as we go through. But there's a Secret Santa tag that I was tagged in, and the Christmas colors tag that I was tagged in. And so, since by my calendar we have 8 days left before Christmas, I've got a really cute countdown calendar. You could still do this next Tuesday, which I guess would be Christmas Eve. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but if you wanted to get in a Christmas tag before Christmas, you could certainly do so. It doesn't have to be a Tuesday. I bend the rules. I do my regular stream on Wednesdays. I do tags anytime I like. So, welcome. And that's what we'll be talking about today. In addition, the one that I'm sort of doing, but not really, I'm going to call your attention to because it is Christmas themed. It involves preparation for and release on Christmas Day. So, Accidental Bookseller is a booktuber who thought, what if we all made videos for people who aren't with friends and family and will be alone, but they could see those videos on Christmas Day and it would be like opening presents with friends and family from Booktube. And so that is what I will point your attention to. I believe I put the link down in the description. And so I'll be recruiting people for that based on the people I've tagged in the other two tags. So I've tagged you down below to give you a sneak peek of whether you should be concerned, but other people are free to join in as well and spread the word because it's a lovely idea. So if you like doing tags, if you like Christmas, those are two reasons you might subscribe today, but no pressure. We are going to start with the Booktube Secret Santa Tag, and I will just bring your attention to the question of the day before that, which is, when did you start your own holiday tradition? When did you break away from your born with family and start creating your own holiday rituals? I'm interested because I have done very little on that front. I do Christmas cards, which is my own thing, and I've done that for many years. But I've still never gotten my own tree, and I'm kind of wishing I would, but I never get to it because it seems so wasteful every year. So, actually, I'll leave that up and we can dive into the first one after I say hello to the chat. We have a Ven's Corner who is here, and I'm starring the answer comments to do at a break between the tags. We have an Emma Bennett who is here, who has a great answer about Christmas cocktails. I love it. Ven did double answer. Ven just finished recording his Christmas colors tag. Amazing. Okay. Excellent. By the way, if you don't know the YouTube wrap up, so Spotify Wrapped was very successful until they fired all their employees for shareholder profits, so it tanked. YouTube has started doing a wrapped like phenomenon at the end of the year called YouTube Recap. And I found out that Ambient Worlds is music, so that doesn't really count. I have 4 booktubers who I've watched the most content of, and that would be Gareth, Leslie, Elaine, and Ven. So I am definitely, by these metrics, your biggest fan. So shout out to those channels. Should be nice to know that even if you didn't realize I've been leaving all these comments, I am a big fan. All right, we've got Julie here. Sweet tradition. Yeah, the Christmas tortoise is pretty awesome. We've got Alan. Alan is tagged in the description. Good evening. We've got Grace from Books and Cooks. Hello, hello. Popping in during a work break. Thank you for saying hello. We've got Greg, who's also tagged in there. Hello, hello. Sweet. Okay. So the Booktube Secret Santa tag. No, I didn't do a banner for it. So I will pop what is already down in the description up here for the duration. I have to share a screen for this because I don't have the books with me. They are ones I gleaned through my Storygraph and past readings. And I will say I'm tagging 5 people. It includes the person who tagged me, and um, they are all books that I've read and can recommend, right? Except for one, and that's gonna be the last one, and I'll tell you why I think it should be a buddy read. So we're gonna dive in here. It was a tag created by Heather at Heather Reads and Meg at Books Off the Beaten Path, and I was tagged by AlansReads, who is in the chat. So thank you very much, Alan. The prompt is to pick 5 Booktube creators and pretend that you are choosing a book or 2 to give them as a Secret Santa present. Which Booktube creators will you pick, and what books will you buy for them? So I adopted Jim's method and said, well, who are the last 5 that tagged me? Because I think that's a little bit of like good karma as you're giving it back to those people who are thinking of you. So the last 5 people who tagged me are down below, and this is what I would give them. Let me pop up my share screen here, and I'll just type it in each time I talk about a book so that we can see it and make it a little big. There we go. All right. So Alan is first since he got me last, and this is the book. I don't know if you've heard me talk about this, Alan, but I was yammering about this quite a lot a few years ago. And it's called Light Rains Sometimes Fall, a British year in Japan's 72 Ancient Seasons by Lev Parikian. Now, Lev is a musician, and during the pandemic, he didn't have any work, so he stayed at home and he made this project to observe the very small change of things outside. And I really appreciated this. It was going on walks, it was valuing family, it was noticing birds, and a lot of this is revealed on the cover, which is really cool. So I really liked this. I like taking another culture's thing and interpreting it. And then actually I have another book that I'm going to bring up, which is, let's see, I'm going to go to Reads, and then, oh, I have to go to mine. Sorry, it's big, so it's going to take a lot more time. But I also wanted to recommend another channel to you, Ellen. And I don't know if you follow her yet, but she is an insect scientist, and I thought you'd probably be interested in some of the books she reads and some of the takes that she has on books, and that is Bethan Berninga Sokolar. So I really would recommend her channel. And so you get 2 book recommendations and a channel recommendation. Here's the other book that I was thinking of, Orchard, A Year in England's Eden by Benedict MacDonald. And this is, so the other one is a guy in his house in the pandemic and observing the area around him. This is going to be a scientist who is observing a small patch of land, not where he lives, but that has been preserved for a couple of centuries in its bucolic splendor. And there's also photos from Nick Gates. I'm not going to remember exactly, but illustrated cover, also beautiful, and there's actually photos inside. So from someone who is not an insect lover, is maybe I got a bit of their journey to go in terms of accepting, although I have left a spider and now an earwig in the bathtub without touching them for like a week now. And I also had a spider in the shower yesterday and didn't evict it. So yeah, we're trying to live together. We're trying to embrace it. And yeah, so those are 2 of the books that have helped me just observe and be comfortable and know a little bit more about all this life that I had never gotten to study in any classes throughout my education. So really good books. And then Bethan, I would recommend her channel to anybody, but especially to Ellen. Let me catch up with the chat because I think there's more comments. We got a Jim. Hello, Jim. And Alan says, you're very welcome. Thank you. Greg says, I find the Secret Santa Tag daunting. People have been so thoughtful toward me. I'm a bad friend. That's okay. It's about giving and receiving and just taking some time to think about what connects you to other people. That's all I did last night. Jenny is here. Hello, hello. Oh, Alan says I have that book. It's fantastic. Okay, you must mean the first one. Yeah. Uh Light Rains. Awesome. Great pick. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. Like I may not know if you've already read it. I'll check out Beth Ann's channel and haven't read Orchard, but we'll check it out after Read What You Own is over. See, you're still in the game. Well done. Well done, you. Yeah, Orchard, it had a really great description of like uh, zombie moths because they have a life cycle where they die and then their body is like bursts into basically like pollen particles is what I envisioned and gets seeded to the next generation that way. It was crazy. I was like, what is happening? This is crazy. It's awesome. Cat Pie is here. Hello, hello. Erin is here. Hey, friend. I'm late, but have you read Meadowland, About a Year in an English Field? No, but it sounds similar. Yes, I need to get Orchard too. Okay. Meadowland. I'm going to write it down. Hold on. I don't want to lose my place here, but Meadowland. Do you know the author for that one? Because I definitely want to look it up. Yes, I love a good nature memoir / educational read. That's my jam. All right, so that is Alan's Secret Santa. Next, I should just read my own banner here, is Gareth at Books, Songs, and Other Magic. And, oh, I've got two good ones here that, oh, wait, I have, but I haven't read. Sorry, I'm going to have to qualify that. I thought I had read them all. These are two that I bought in the last year, but I haven't read yet. So, proposed buddy read. Richard Ingram's. Here we go. This was a find at Arches in Portland. So The Life and Adventures of William Cobbett. It's got that historical cartoon cover, which I know Gareth will love because he's into cartoons and history. It's 20 years old, but you know what? William Cobbett is 200 plus years old. So if you've done much research into the Regency period, you've probably come across the name William Cobbett. He was a regular guy and wrote this very influential column, a precursor to a column, and gradually became radicalized on the side of the worker and the peasant. And so I'm very curious to hear someone's take on his whole life and that process, because I think Gareth and I would both like this figure and like to see the different aspects of his life and what affected him and what causes he championed. So I definitely want to read this as a research read, and I happened across a copy. So if Gareth is interested, suggest. And then the other one for Gareth is called Riding the Elephant by Craig Ferguson, also from Arches. This is actually a free pile one. I loved Craig Ferguson's Late Show on CBS. And unfortunately, it's no longer in existence anymore, just like The Late Show will go off the air. But this is a memoir by Craig Ferguson from 2019, it looks like. So pretty late. I think he probably had earlier ones. And I'm very curious because he's had a very volatile, let's say, a life. But as a comedian, he's off the wall. He's wacky. He's personable. I really liked his interviews on his show and missed them. And of course, he has a podcast now. But Gareth also likes comedians, and especially old school comedians. So I don't know how he'll get along with Craig Ferguson if he likes his style, but in trying to gauge Gareth's interests and where they might intersect with mine, I thought the history one or the comedian one might be a good angle. And if either of these poke your funny bone or are already on your shelves, let me know and let's see if we could do a buddy read. So tag Secret Santa to Gareth. Check the chat. Oh, Erin has got an author name for me. Thank you. Oh, it's another John Lewis. All right, so John Lewis Stemple. Thank you, my friend. That does sound like a nice read, like a slow, calm read that I would appreciate. It's about a hay meadow which are dying out. And Alan says Meadowland is fantastic. Yeah, agree. Emma also says John Lewis Stemple is wonderful. He lives not far from us. Well, that's amazing. That's very, very cool. Greg is asking a tongue-in-cheek question. Did I know Craig Ferguson is Scottish? In fact, I did, Greg. Thank you very much for asking. There we go. So I've done Alan and Gareth, and Pat is next. So for Pat's books, Pat has many wide-ranging and, as we just saw from her 2026 plans, very group-oriented reads with classics, especially making an appearance, and literary fiction and memoir. But what I piped up with was, oh, the Irish readathon. Well, I'm definitely already doing that. So I looked at the books that I had read for the Irish Readathon over my 5 or 6 years on Booktube and came to a couple to recommend to our friend Pat here. And if it will come up here, doesn't look like it wants to come up. Come on. There we go. You've all heard me talk about this one before, probably. This is a collection of nonfiction essays, and it took me a long time between getting it and reading it, but I read it 2023 and was blown away. There are so many tabs in my copy of this book back in Portland. It's called Irish Hunger: Exploring the Legacy of the Potato Famine by Tom Hayden. I did not know who Tom Hayden is. Apparently, he's one of the Chicago Chicago 7. I can't remember what the number is, but in the 1970s, they were activists, kind of like the Black Panther Party, singled out and, what's it called? Vindictively prosecuted, shall we say, for their activism. So Tom Hayden is a big name, but he also has Irish American heritage. And in this collection that he edited with a lot of other Irish American authors, there's a lot of really interesting things that are politically, that have political implications, that have social implications, that have activist implications. And I found it really fascinating for the work that I'm trying to do to uncover how to knit community together after the American experiment of immigration has landed us here. And so, yeah, I think Pat would really get a lot out of this based on our buddy read from Agitation August and how thoughtful she was about activism and standing up for people's rights and the legacies of different things. So, yeah, a really interesting read, and Pat reads really good reads. So this is one of the ones I had to offer. Conversely, a fiction recommendation that I read a couple years ago, and I don't think is very well known in America. There's an Irish author called Frank O'Connor, and the Everyman's Library did a best of, and he has a pretty famous short story that I think is in here. The guest, something about guests. Someone will know in the comments. But it was during the period of World War I that the very complicated relationships between Ireland and the UK and the World War sort of brought a lot of things to the fore. And so he's got some really interesting takes, both fiction and nonfiction, I think, in here. And yeah, I read this after reading the guest story in another collection and thought, wow, I really like his style. And I wonder if Pat has read any of his work, or if that could be put on her proposed Irish readathon list as she spies them in the wild coming up in 2026. So those are my 2 Irish themed books for Pat. Jim is letting us know Under the Hawthorn Tree was a middle grade book that was focused on the Irish famine. I read it back in April. Excellent. That is by Marion Clark. There's a double-barreled name there as well. I have it on my wish list. I have a different book of theirs. And yeah, I do want to read this, and I haven't read it yet. Oh, thank you. You just said it here. Marita Conlon McKenna. Yeah, and for some reason that name doesn't stick in my head, but it's a fun name. I like it. And very well regarded, has stood the test of time. It's a middle grade classic over decades. So yeah. All right. Continuing on with people who have tagged. The next one up is Book Buds, who tagged me in the Christmas colors, which I'll be doing next. And Book Buds are known to me for their great good humor, their hilarious skets, and the energy they put into them, and liking books that are sort of plot focused and clever and funny. And so I chose books that were like that for their Secret Santa. So these are books that I have read and enjoyed and think they might enjoy, or they'd make a really good sketch possibility. So one of these is Tarquin Hall, the second in the series of Vish Puri. It's called The Case of the Man Who Died Laughing. And I read this in the last year or two, and it's a mystery. It's a Indian detective who lives near Delhi and sort of regards himself very highly, maybe like Rumpole of the Bailey kind of vibes, but he is a private detective. People hire him for small matters. He's got a vast family network. He's got a vast friend network of contacts. He is a very much food-loving detective, and so we are treated to a lot of great details of the Indian setting, which I love because I've never been, and I'm very curious about how things differ. And it's a very whodunit kind of read, very Agatha Christie, very, well, how could this possibly happen? It's not a locked room, but it is a public setting that no one could figure out how the death occurred. And so very twisty, very, I don't know, fun for lack of another word. And so I recommend Tarquin Hall's books. He is a person who lives in India, but is a Brit, I believe. And so I am a little bit conscious of the fact that I wish I could find an Indian national who is of the place that writes, mysteries that I could say are Indian mysteries. But this is a British migrant who I think lives there with his family. So just with that caveat, you can't use it for challenges where the author is from India, but it is very immersed in the Indian setting and life ways and experiences and background. And I think in a very understanding way, not in an accusatory empire sort of way, if you're wondering. And then the other option for Book Buds for Secret Santa would be a favorite fantasy romance I read this year, which is an audiobook by Stephanie Burgess, and it's called Wooing the Witch Queen. Okay, so this is also very funny, and there's magic involved, so I think this would be really fun to do a sketch of. It's the first in a series, and it's got a lot of great tropes that I love, including mistaken identity. So that is like the premise. And then, there's sort of an enemies to lovers vibe, which I think Book Buds, Joe and Mary would love. It's got a happy ending, it's got magic, it's got farce, it's got hilarity, and also some big spookies and some confronting some inner demons. So, there's some meat to the bone of the story. So I really liked this, and it was a lovely fantasy romance in case they wanted to venture into that area a little bit more. Alan confirms or agrees with me. The Vish Puri series is a lot of fun. Yeah, so recent and really, really fun read. So those are my two for Joe and Mary. And finally, we've got Leslie. Leslie is also on my most watched YouTube recap. And here is where I have a book I have read and recommend, and a book I haven't read and might want to do a buddy read. So the red book is by recently lost to the world, Sophie Kinsella. So if you don't know, Sophie Kinsella was the author who wrote the Shopaholic books. There's contemporary romance. And it was a young person in the city with kind of Sex in the City vibes, but a little bit hapless of a heroine. But she's done a lot of other books. There was one I read set in Italy, like a food vacation, which I loved. But this is the first one that I ever read of hers. It's called The Burnout, and it involves someone who is, I think, a publicist or working in marketing, and they're taking the first vacation in a long time because they're burnt out, and they had a little incident at their workplace. They come to this place that they came to as a child, and I think the Welsh coast. Correct me if I'm wrong, Emma, because I think Emma read this and did not like it. But I think Leslie would like this as much as I did, which is to give it a 5-star rating. And she gets there and everything goes wrong, right? She's trying to like relax, and there's this weird guy that shows up, and like nothing is right in the hotel because it's like one of the dying hotels in a resort town that no one goes to anymore. There's just a lot of great setup for hilarity, comedy, exasperation of the greatest variety, kind of like the I Love Lucy brand of comedy. I loved it. I loved it. I was crying, laughing at some of the things that were happening in this. So I think Leslie would appreciate this as a break from heavier reads because she's done a couple really heavy downer books and really needs a pick-me-up. So Secret Santa to Leslie, pick yourself out The Burnout by Sophie Kinsella, and you won't regret it if you have time to read it. The other book that I have not read is called, let's see, Tonia. And this is on my wish list. It was recommended by Storygraph, so you can see that from the tags that I gave it here. So I'm just going to read the description because this is very compelling to me, and I think it would be a really neat one to dive into with someone else who is just overwhelmed by life sometimes. Antonia Pont. I've never heard of the author, so it's completely new, just something served up by Storygraph. I clicked on it and I thought, oh, these days, it's easy to get the impression that people are really very anxious. Who, you ask? Well, people you hear about, people who tell you they are, friends, lovers, acquaintances, colleagues, the youth. The term is around and people are applying it to themselves or having it applied to them willy-nilly. What would it mean to be able to live a plain life? Would a plain life just be an unambitious one? A drab or routine life without color, variation, unknowing, or luck? I'm not sure what that means. Or would a plain life be one in which we'd fret slightly less, suspect ourselves less, and thus listen to ourselves and others in new ways? We may not need to do more and be more. In the quiet spaces already within us, lurking in the interstices of our days and conversations, there are ways and choreographies to nurture a plainer, saner, odder, less reactive, and therefore less terrifying life. So I really, really liked this. And I thought, okay, well, that sounds like it promises a lot. The cover, I really like the cover, very artistic, but like open to interpretation. And it talks about deciding, which is a big sticking point for me. So, Leslie, when you watch this, if you are curious and want to do a buddy read, could be 2026, could be later. Either way, I thought this would be a great read and would give this as a gift in case you wanted to read along with me. So those are the 5 people who last tagged me. So I tagged them back for Secret Santa. And I hope these are good picks for them if they are interested in buddy reading or curious about the read. You can always find my review on my channel. And yeah, we'll take a little break and talk about the answers to the question of the day now before we proceed with the second one. I had a couple things to go through here, which is just to let people know I do have a member benefit / Patreon benefit that is getting bookish mail. So if you're curious about that and want to get something in your mailbox, you can become a supporter. There's options on Patreon or as a member at YouTube if that is more convenient. So that's just my little make available. I wouldn't be an author or a small business person if I didn't at least say it and put it out there for folks. Okay, so questions of the day that I saved here. Beth Ann is here. Okay, so let me catch up with the chat first, and then we'll go to the answers. Beth Ann is here. Hello. Is that a library in the background of that cover of Wooing the Witch Queen? Yes, yes, it is. She has a phenomenal library, and in fact, our hero spends not a small amount of time trying to find the answer to his questions about magic in this fantastic library. So, highly recommend. Yes. Alan says, I didn't realize Sophie Kinsella was a pen name until I read her obituary. Ah, okay. I didn't know that either. I don't need to know her real name. I just think she was a fantastic person, especially how she handled having, I think it was brain cancer, and trying to heal from that over several years, and then finally passing away, I think, last week. Yeah, Cat Paw says same. Yeah, pen name. It's a good pen name, right? All right, so our answers of the day to the holiday traditions question. Ven gave an answer, which is great. I revisit Hogfather by Terry Pratchett every year and have for a decade now. I should ring my little bell. That's my holiday tradition. Sometimes I read it, sometimes the adaptation, and this year for the first time, the audio version. Amazing. Is it a good narrator? Would you shout out the narrator? Because we do like shouting out a narrator here. Again, I will say I've never read Terry Pratchett, but the last sweep of bookstores that I did look for Terry Pratchett in multiple places to look for guards, because I think you recommended that as a good place to start. Did not find it. So the search continues. Emma says we have a lot of holiday traditions, some from when I was little, like eating panettone on Christmas morning. Others, like leaving out a cocktail for Santa, are more recent. And yeah, that sounds like one you may have started yourself, which is great. Ven's second answer, when I was a kid, we had a stone tortoise, which is interesting just to start. And my gran said it came alive every Christmas, so we left water and a lettuce leaf on a plate, which is just adorable. Peak tradition. Do you have anything like that with your family? I don't know how you get together with your spawn, as you call them, or offspring. I can't remember what you call them, but yeah, that's a really, really cute one. And Julie says, I can't remember when this tradition started, but I make egg and bacon sandwiches on Christmas morning. They fill us up so I don't have to rush the Christmas meal. That is very thoughtful. Yeah, I think we normally, when I was growing up, had stockings, the excitement get out of the way first, and then it was adjourn for like French toast, which is, what's it called? On demand by the cook. So my mom would always be at the grill for French toast, and then have sustenance be, not going to faint away from the excitement, and then go back and open presents. What I remember is my dad always had his video camera, the kind that was on the shoulder, like this big, like 5 bricks heavy, with an attachment that was in a pack over your shoulder. And he would pan to whoever was opening a present, and if they weren't opening it fast enough, it would be prodding to move faster. So if there's some action for the film. Yeah, he doesn't do that anymore. We've sort of calmed down on the camera stuff, but we do like to focus on whoever gave the gift so that they get to see the person open it, which is good. Let's see. So Julie's. And then Beth Ann says, one of my friends just posted recently on Facebook about watching the Hogfather movie, which I didn't know existed before Ven said there was an adaptation. I hadn't heard of the book or the movie, but I think need to consume both now. Nice. That sounds like a good holiday tradition. She says the movie is delightful. Ven says the audiobook version has 3 narrators and all are good. Peter Serafinowicz as the voice of Death was amazing. Excellent shout out. Thank you for that. I will check it out, see if there's like a little sample I can listen to. Kappa says, I know this is a book channel, but Hogfather is available here on the Tube too as a movie. Okay. So someone has made it available on YouTube somehow. All right. Ben says, yeah, it was made by Sky, I think, but it's on YouTube. So Sky is a channel on British television. It's got some other part to the name, but I can't remember it now. David Jason plays Pixie Albert, which is as ridiculous as it is amazing. I don't know who David Jason is. Is it because he's a very large person? Is that why playing a pixie is ridiculous? Or some other reason? I don't know. Catboss says, I've read all Terry Pratchett's books more than once and have bought them all. Yes, there are some very renowned fans among my subscribers and the channels that I subscribe to. So I know I'm being a little bit of a heretic admitting that, but I've never watched Lost either. And some people like Dave and Gareth find that incredible to comprehend. But, we all have different lived experiences. This proves the point. Aaron says, I also love the book and film of Hogfather. A resounding success, apparently. Okay. He was delayed. Boybin, only fools and horses, if that helps. I don't understand that. Maybe clarify. Help me a little out here. David Jason, better known as Del Boy Trotter from Only Fools and Horses. Oh, that's what you were... You think I'm going to know this movie, Only Fools and Horses? I've never even heard of that, even on Booktube. But Alan spelled it out a little bit easier to understand from a newbie. I don't know the movie. I don't know the character. Sorry, guys. Inspector Frost. Nope. Sorry. Whew, over my head. Sorry for that. But yeah, excellent answers of holiday traditions. I usually travel for the holidays, especially since the pandemic started, to be with family. So my holiday traditions are still family ones. And yeah, but I did amass 5 whole ornaments over the past decade of living in Portland, and I brought those with me, and they are on the fig tree here. So that was an amazing autocorrect, says Laura. Hi, Laura. Ben says it's a UK national treasure actor, David Jason. Okay. Jenny says show, not movie. I wasn't a fan. Jenny with the unpopular opinion today. All right. Occasionally I manage English, but only by accident. It's all right. It's all right. Okay. So now we're going to transition. We've had our break. We've had our pitch. We've had our answers. We're going to move to the second tag, Christmas Colors, which was created by BookBuds, and I was tagged by BookBuds. So thank you very much, Joe and Mary. And again, there's still a good week for anyone who wants to turn around these Christmas Colors tags before Christmas. I am going to pop up the people that I tagged, which again, I adopted the Jim method and just looked at the people who were the last 5 taggers, not repeating any. So that is going to be Kevin Toll Reads, Daniela at Uncommon Reader, Eva at Eva Tian or Poetic POV, either one, Heather Gregg, and Greg at Ghost Readers in the Sky. So it's a very simple tag, and it probably would be easier to do if I was at home and I could pull them off my shelf, but that is not what we are. So we're going to pop this back up again, pop me back down again, and just bring these books that are mostly recent reads by searching. So not a very Christmassy title, but a very red book. The first prompt is a book with a red cover, and I'm going to bring up this one, which I just read last month. One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El-Akkad. So this is a writer based in the Pacific Northwest, I found out, who came out with this book earlier this year, and it's about the Palestine genocide, and he is someone with Egyptian roots that has been a Canadian citizen and then I think just recently became an American citizen. This is his memoir slash reporting. So he grew up as he first started in journalism and basically really got burnt out in that field because he was covering a lot of war news and questioning a lot of the things that he was seeing and the norms that he was confined by. And so he became activist on many of these topics that affected populations he empathized with and was part of in some instances, and started writing fiction. So he had a very big book, and I can't remember what it's called now, something about American War. It's a dystopian sort of sci-fi narrative, but very real and plausible, let's say. And through that process of being a fiction author and traveling and talking to people, he had a lot of other things come up. And this is since the 2023 explosion of violence in Palestine by Israel and the the administrations, both Biden and Trump now, abetting of that with weapons to Israel. His take on this, his moral suasion on this topic, and the very hard leaning on the left of America, and I put left in quotes actually, from his portrayal, how they are not supporting the resistance in enough ways. So his very ironic title definitely describes his take on this and the sadness, right? So this is a Christmas tag, but this is the reddest cover that I saw. And so I'm including that. It's a very hard book to read, but I think it gives a lot of good insight and stirs a lot of the coals in the fire of resistance that I think we should be aware of here in America. Okay, that's red. The green title, who would I be as an author on Booktube if I didn't highlight my own book once in a while? It's been quite a while, so I'm going to say this is the green book title. Pick a book with a green cover. This has a lot of green in it. It's my own book. It's the last book. It was published last year. ORLA Rafferty Seeks Her Fortune, and I recommend that you all pick up a copy or tell your library to acquire a copy. It's book 1 in a planned series, but I've been sitting on book 2 this year because it has just not been the year. Let's say that. This is continuing in the tradition of historical politics and revealing our own predilections and or history through far-off characters, let's say. So the series is going to be picking up a few different family members who find each other in 1820s UK. So I think Ireland, Scotland are both planned in that period, and perhaps farther flung off empire satellites, let's say. So I'll keep you guessing. But that is the green cover that I selected just to toot my own horn for a little bit, since it's been a while since I did anything AuthorTube related. And let me just check in before I proceed with prompt 3. Yeah, I got 11 comments. Let's scan down here. Let's see, I think Ven was the last one. Unusual choice moving from Canada to America. Jenny concurs. Brave choice these days. So Laura and Jenny, yeah, for Omar El Ahad. Yes. Hello, Eva. Eva just swanning in when I mentioned her name. Well done. Oh, I own that book. And I've read it. I don't remember it. I need to reread it. I remember it, but don't remember it. That's a good one. I don't know if you're talking about One Day or Orla Rafferty. Jenny says, shameless self-promo. You need to do this more. Yeah, sometimes new people won't realize that I do have books, and people who are like, oh yeah, I meant to do that, might need a little nudge. So this is your nudge. And I do know for a fact Greg has started to read Orla Rafferty, which he got from his library. So win-win-win. Bonus points to Greg for being a super fan. Ven says, one of my 3 historical fiction reads this year. Amazing. Ven is like an indie author's dream of a channel. So indie authors, if you are here by chance, go support Ven as a reader of indie books. There we go. Greg confirming what he told me earlier. He's reading Orla Rafferty. Excellent. Beth Ann, hooray for Orla Rafferty. Thank you. Thank you. Eva says, "'Tis the season to dive back into AuthorTube." Yay for self-promoting your work. You're so talented. Well, thank you. Thank you, Eva. I am going to be doing an AuthorTube related tag on the last day of the year. I have planned that out. It has taken me a while to come to it because it's like emotionally tangled up with other stuff. So we're doing this with a little bit of courage, not of the liquid variety, but of the AuthorTube variety, because you guys are so great and encouraging. Say my name, say my name. Yes, I did, Eva. You are tagged in this tag that I'm doing, I think. So Alan says, another one for when Read What You Own is over. Wow, so committed. So committed, Alan. Cat Paw says, Orla, of course, yay. I came in at Orla. Okay, well, I may have hit the timer option accidentally because I have the banner with all the taggies up. So I will pop that up after I catch up with comments. Read What You Own would kill me. Jenny, I think it actually might, but it might help with my book buying problem. I am not going over this. I am actually going to touch on Read What You Own at the end as an update, as I did on Monday's stream. But yeah, I'm going to do this next year. Gareth has like an idea, and I might sort of piggyback on that, but maybe you want to join as like encourage us to read what we own, but gently, not to the extent of like reading 25 books, which is what I did to myself. So I'm no one to blame. Eva followed Ven, see, facilitating connections. We love it. Julie said, I bought the Keating, but I haven't bought Orla yet. Well, feel free to read the Keating before you buy another book, because as I recently did a whole themed video on books that I've bought more than one from the author, but have not read them, I wouldn't encourage that, like make sure you like the material before you buy another book. I would just say that would be my own advice to follow. Cat Paw says, I'm holding off rereading for when book 2 has a release date. Wink, wink. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm planning 3 and they should be standalones because they're different characters and I have to like blend the 2 in. Yeah. Beth Ann is recommending to Julie. The Keating is excellent. Thank you, my friend. I do have a playlist. I will pop it up here if I remember. A playlist of all other people's reviews of my books on Booktube. So Ven is on that list, Beth Ann is on that list, and a lot of other lovely booktubers that have read my books. I highlighted their reviews and keep it in a playlist in case you're curious who likes my books. Ven says, thank you. Eva says, you can read what I own instead. It's been an interesting challenge. I like that. Yoink. I like that idea. English is my only language. I got it. Jenny says, nope, hard pass. I shall hoard all the books. Oh, okay. Well, I came up with a clever title that I thought would entice people maybe to join me next year, which is Twin It to Win It. So 1 book read, 1 book acquired. I think that might be more your speed, but to each her own. Eva says to Cat Paw, we can do a buddy reread before book 2's release. Ooh, remind me. That sounds like a good plan. Jim says the Keating was a 5-star read for me. Jim is also on that review playlist. Yep. Eva says, I also read the Keating and loved it. Yay. Yeah. Cat Paw says, maybe. Yeah, reread. That sounds good. That sounds like a plan. I endorse this plan. So Christmas colors, the tags. So it does have the stupid timer on it. I'm going to turn off the timer. Sorry. Timer off. Stupid StreamYard updates that we don't need. Familiar? Anybody else? There we go. Okay, so we'll leave this up until a comment supersedes it. I'm going to move on to the next prompt, which is a gold book. A book with gold cover or gold accents. And this one is a recent book that some of you might love. There we go. The Titanic Survivors Book Club by Timothy Schaffert. This was published in 2024, and I read it last month. If you get the book, it's not shiny, but it definitely is intended to be like an old-timey gold look of the cover, I mean. And I picked this up in a LGBTQIA-owned bookstore in Portland, and I thought, "Ooh, this is really good, but I'm not gonna pay a hardcover price." So I waited and waited to find a paperback release date, and none was in the offing, so I waited until I got it from the library, I think. But I do attribute the Source, which is a lovely bookstore in Portland, for anyone to visit if they are in the area. It's called the Always Here Bookstore, which I love. It is a LGBT themed read, in that we have a complicated threesome and a actual, in fact, love triangle. So not just one loves two, two loves three, and one and three are connected. It's a very mixed, murky, interwar set love kerdoodle? What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But basically, we have a mysteriously convened group of Titanic survivors, meaning people who had a ticket to go on the Titanic but did not board. And so it's different than you might think of as survivors. It's not people who are, on the manifest, or they were on the manifest, but they didn't actually get on the boat. And so this weird sort of luck that clings to them and makes them feel some kind of way, they gather, and then it turns into a book club. And it's interesting what books they choose, and this love triangle sort of develops, and is reminded me a lot of the Mutual Interest book that has a different kind of love triangle, but similar feeling, that I read in the spring. So yeah, gold accents on the cover. Very fine read. Recommend to people looking for a sort of swoony romance set with like hopeless romantics and a little bit of fate and destiny dropped in. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. There we go. Oh, I catch up on the comments again. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Eva says, I got tagged. So I don't think you've done a tag yet on your author poetic POV channel, but if you want to do this somehow, feel free. TikTok, Instagram Reel, however you like, from whichever profile you like, because I know you monitor several. You got a lot going. I guess I got to make another video. Wahaha. Yeah. Jenny says, with the number of books I got this year alone, coping device, no shame, no shade. I need to quit my job and only read all day, every day, and still not catch up. Well, that's why I like just make a dent is what my goal is. So one in, one out sort of thing. Yeah, just a suggestion, offer there on the table. Ben says, that reminds me, Jenny, you didn't update your count in the Voxer. The Voxer group where we're trying to see who's bought the most this year. The year is not over, my friend. Eva says, we have a room for books. We call it a library, but we treat it like a closet. I need to get in there. So Eva has some very successful and very satisfying, I would say, cleaning videos on her TikTok or on the other channel. I can't remember which one, but you do a really good job. So as someone who often gets distracted, maybe that's the editing. Maybe that's the excellent editing you do. Cleaning is very hard because like tidying, organizing takes forever because you got to resolve a pile of stuff that all has different destinations. So kudos, my friend, either for the tidying or the editing. Dee Dee is here. Hello, hello. From Brown Girl Reading. Nice to see you. Damn, you noticed that I didn't update it. Jim says, I love a trial that is actually a triangle. I know, it's so rare, right? Eva says, that's a fun premise. I know, very clever. I did notice. If Titanic does Final Destination. What's Final Destination? Sounds like a Final Destination prequel. What's Final Destination? But with kissing. Yes, there's definitely some kissing. Oh, Jinx. Jinx again. Eva says, I did a tag. Why did I YouTube? Oh, that's right. You tagged me in that. I have your name listed on this. That's why you're in this tag, because you were the 5 previous tags. It was a production. Oh, I'll try and do this one, but will it be timely? Doubt it. Maybe for next Christmas. I mean, I have full on saved things for more timely holidays, so no worries. It's so sweet you called them successful. I would say they were successful. Cat Paw says Rob's London did a video on Titanic, which is a different angle. He's an ex-cabbie and usually does vids on London. Recommend. Interesting. I wonder what the angle is. So it's a new channel recommendation. Thank you. Thank you. Ben says, I like cleaning. All right. Jenny says, there you go, Ben. Complete with photo evidence. Okay, I think she must have dropped something in the chat. Ben says, I end up starting and then hyperfixating on it for a day, the cleaning. But yeah, can relate. Jenny says, Final Destination is some great films about cheating death. Oh, it's a horror movie series where people don't board a plane, roller coaster, etc., and don't die. Then death comes after them to even the score. Oh my gosh. Wait, it's a movie series. So like a movie franchise, movie length, released in theaters or streaming. But wow, that is a clever idea. Yeah. So yeah, Final Destination with kissing is a good mashup. Well done. The log truck. That's in a Alice Henderson book, by the way. The hangers in the closet. Okay, I missed that reference. It's haunting. Okay, recommended by Eva. All right. It is horror, so I don't know. Let's move on to prompt number 4, which is a book that sparkles. So for this one, I'm going to go with a nature/climathon read that I recently completed called it's called Draw of the Sea. Storygraph is going to be picky. By Will Menmuir. So I think he's a Welsh living author. It definitely sparkles. You can't really see it on the screen, but when I held it up for the review, it definitely has like silver foil on the cover, which is very fancy. And I loved that about it. It's someone who has a deep relationship with the sea and observes other people with similar deep relationships and just writes different essays about aspects of humans' relationship with the sea and how we're drawn to it because we came from it. So there's surfing, there's eco pickup like activism, there's what's it called? Beachcombing here is called not wool gathering, mudlarking. So in the Thames, it's called mudlarking. I don't know whether you'd call it that in the ocean, but you get the idea. So really neat, just like how we interact with it, and it directs the course of our lives sometimes. Just really nice memoirish book, and it's sparkly. Yeah, so Final Destination, Laura says, so horrible, but so good. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Eva asked, do I need to own the books or have read the books for this tag? No, not at all. I went to my recent reads because I was trying to contain it, because otherwise I'd have to scroll in Storygraph for a long time, and it times out because it doesn't have a lot of data center space. And you know what? I don't want to require them to take up more space because that's affecting people's lives when they don't have water and their utility bills are high. In fact, on my travels to and from San Luis Obispo, I drove by a place called Diablo Grande, which I did some research because I looked askance at a whole lot of structures that looked like warehouses in the plain. Because on the other side, on the hill, I remember seeing a lot of construction and then nothing, and lots of high fences and then nothing. And so what I read was they didn't have the water. They got permission to get water from the aqueduct. It didn't go through. Like, there's just a bunch of bad juju in this development, and it has like golf courses for rich people. And I was like, oh wow, there's some tea on this development. If you are curious and nosy, Diablo Grande in Patterson, California, has some articles on it. And then adjacent on the other side of the freeway was this like looking like a data center. And I tried to look up some of that. And again, because there were already water woes with the development that made it go bankrupt, this other side, like, what are they doing? So I was very curious. It's water related, so I'm going to keep it, in this thing. Just something that attracted my attention recently. Okay, so Alan is defining the ocean version as beachcombing. All right. But wait, no, there's another word for it. There's another word for it. Maybe someone will have it. Aaron says, I want to go mudlarking ever since I read a book about it. Quite lazy because I can throw a stone in the Thames from my front door. Well, that's really cool. That's really cool. Diablo Grande, Patterson. Yes, that's how it's spelled in California. Sims has beachcombing. That's pretty funny. Jenny says, wouldn't it just bounce back out of the Thames rather than sink? Shade. The Scot is throwing shade to the Londoner. Just fine. All right, so the next prompt, number 5, a book with snow or a snowman on the cover. So I had a buddy read with Grace, and I recently finished, hopefully recently enough that I will remember all my little tags here. This definitely has snow on the cover, and it also sort of shines a little bit. There's a glossy finish. This is Tracks by Louise Erdrich, and as I said, it's my second Louise Erdrich book, and I buddy read it with Grace from Books and Cooks, and it is about 1912 to 1920. It's set in, I'm going to mess this up. It's set in like North Dakota, I think. But I think the universe of books wanders off the reservation to other places as it progresses in time. And it's a non-linear progression. It's just a universe of books that Louise Erdrich has constructed about this lineage, which I think is really, really creative and interesting. So some lovely snow with tracks visible on the cover. The next prompt is a book with a pine tree on the cover. So I had to go back to 2024 for this one. If you don't know, the Storygraph recap has at the end just a whole layout of all the covers that you've read. And so that's what I went to so that wouldn't time out when I was scrolling. And here we find another Climathon book that I'm going to say are pine trees. I mean, it's talking about the Caledonian forest, which has Scottish pine as a rare tree. These don't look like Scots pines. They look a little taller. They might be like a Sitka spruce plantation. But you know what? It's in the story, so I'm just going to say that's okay. I know Jim read this one, or this author, Charlotte McConaughey, and recommends her. I read this with my Patreon book club. We had varying opinions. I think I started out thinking it was good, and then by the end, it was totally torn apart by Beth Ann and others. So, you know, may not hold up to the biologist gold standard, shall we say, but it's a very interesting exploration of ecosystems and humans' impact, and like humans that have secrets and desires and ambitions. And I thought it was a good, well-told story, even if some of the wolf stuff was maybe a little precarious to the scientists in the crowd. So Alan, I don't know if this is for you. It is a good story though, so maybe you could just roll your eyes and go with it like I did. So let's see, coming back here, Jim has a comment. There's mudlarking in The Lost Apothecary. Now, I don't know if that author is British. Lost Apothecary, Sarah Penner. I don't know if she's British or American. I haven't seen any interviews with her, so let me know. Aaron says, I did nearly fall in once. Do not recommend going in it. Oh, but that's the premise for so many good Anne Perry storylines, is like someone falling in the Thames. I jest. Alan says, have you ever read Cadillac Desert? Yes, about water rights and corruption long before data centers were a thing. Yes. And it's still affecting us. There's a TikTok creator called Western Water Girl, and she started off with like water trivia in the Colorado Compact, which is the treaty sort of thing, a treaty-shaped thing that governs water rights in a lot of the Southwest of the United States. And I'm sure she's read it. I read it before there was even a TikTok. Mark, it's a French-sounding name, isn't it? Cadillac Desert. I wanted my own copy for a long time. Then I'm like, I'm just not going to reread this. There are newer issues, but I do remember reading it and be profoundly affected around college. Yeah, great book. And it does pop up in used bookstores, and I go, oh, should I get it? And then I go, no, I don't have to have everything in my library. Jenny says, finally, a book I have on my Kindle somewhere. Oh, this one, because probably someone recommended it to you because it's set in Scotland. I won't say it was very Scottish, but it is a pressing issue for Scotland, which is ecosystem management. So You may be interested in that aspect. Eva says, a book you've heard of? Oh, Margaret, we need a replacement. That one's been heard of before. Oh, you're referring to my hush hush title here, which is The Queen of Books You've Never Heard of. Thank you for that shout out. If you do have a question about any of these books or anything happening in life, drop it below. I am the Queen of Books You've Never Heard of. Usually, to be fair. Jim says, Once There Were Wolves was Jim's favorite read of 2023. Yeah, I think I read it 2024. Cat Paw's trying to think of the name that I was thinking of. Rock pooling? No. Although they do have that variety of it because they do look at the tide pools. That's true. No, I'll have to go look it up in my notes. Sorry, guys, my memory. Beth Ann says, ha! I was thinking about Once There Were Wolves quite a bit as I was reading Diane Boyd's Wolf Scientist memoir recently. Yes, and one of the recent videos on Beth Ann's channel is the reviewing of a memoir by a wolf scientist named Diane Boyd. So well done. Nicely worked in. And you could drop the link because I'm sure you've got a wrench. Yes, if you wanted to leave that here for people. Jim says, I'm now reading The Martian, which has better science mostly. I'll leave that to the scientists. Jenny said, I love The Martian. So funny. Jim says, Sarah Penner is a graduate of the University of Kansas who lives in Florida. So I think we can conclude from that she's American. Okay. But she said it in London. Okay. Great. Alan says, just read Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey, but can't talk about it yet. It's our December Shelf Talkers pick. Oh, okay. So the series you do with MJ. Nice. Nice. Mark Reiner. Oh, okay. It's the C that made me think it was something French. Thank you. The author of Cadillac Desert. I think he also had a few other environmentalist titles. So yeah. I love the thought of reintroducing wolves. Yes, I can see that as a Jenny thing. Jim says, I like the idea of rewilding Scotland with wolves, like what was done in Yellowstone Park. Yes, and we had a whole discussion on the Yellowstone study. And if you want to know a little bit more, or actually, Beth Ann doesn't discuss it, but might talk about a little bit of the science of that in her recent review. Maybe not. I think I just left a comment about it, but it wasn't really something from the book. Reisner. Jenny says, I think they did try, but I think it failed. Yeah. There we go. Wolf memoir review with bonus mushroom content, because there's also a mushroom encyclopedia that was on there. And I saw it in a bookstore recently and I thought, oh, there's Beth Ann's book. Very nice. I think they should reintroduce proper Iron Brew to Scotland first. Oh, shot across the bow from the Londoner to the Scot. Hello, JC. Welcome, welcome. We're halfway through our second tag here, talking about Christmas covers in some way. Jim says, poor Victorian children, nicknamed mudlarks, used to dig at low tide in the foul-smelling muck of the Thames to scavenge lumps of coal and other items they could sell for a few pence. This is giving some background in case people don't know what exactly mudlarking came out of, the tradition it came out of. Hold on 1 second, everybody. I'm losing my voice. Gets a little dry in the thermostat world. Beth Ann says, I didn't get into the science in my video, but for those interested in wolf conservation, good old Congresswoman Lauren in Colorado is sponsoring anti-wolf legislation. Oh, you mean Boebert. So we can take action. Thank you for that reminder. Good opportunity there. Jenny says, that's still a sore point here, Aaron. Hurts having to hunt for the real stuff. Ugh. Sorry for your loss, Jenny. All right, we're going to prompt number 7, a book with a star on the cover. Okay, so this is a really good one. I'm going to recommend this. And I think several people in the chat will recognize it's a T. Kingfisher title, and it's got stars on the cover. It is A Sorceress Comes to Call. So I think T. Kingfisher has risen to some fame recently, and most of the books have a nominal description of being a retelling of a fairy tale. And I think people who are looking for the actual fairy tale will probably be disappointed. But as a framing device for a series of novels, which are highly creative, I think it's great. Just don't expect the fairy tale to be the plot points of the novel, because it's just a starting point. This was actually read because it's a retelling of The Goose Girl, and I was going to read it for her kid as the original and retelling. I never read The Goose Girl, and even if I had, I wouldn't have recognized it here except for a few breadcrumbs, traces. A Sorceress Comes to Call is about a middle-aged woman who visits a family member, and the intertwined story thread of a young girl who's escaping an abusive household. And there is magic, there is witchery, there is sorcery, there is trickery, and a little bit of violence. So there's parts of this that make it a horror novel, but I could handle it. And so I think it's recommendable to people who don't like horror, who just like a really good fantasy story and human interest intrigue. So really, really good there. And it's got stars, so it's going to work. Eva said hello to JC. Jenny says, damn sugar tax. And Aaron said, yeah, they just put equally bad stuff in everything that doesn't taste as nice. You Brits with your nice tasting things. We have come to the bonus prompt, which is a Christmas book. And for a Christmas book, I went back and I realized the most recent Christmas book that I read is also set in Scotland. And it's by a friend of mine. Oh, I need to spell it right. And exactly, apparently. There we go. It's A Scottish Christmas by Emma Bennett, my friend and fellow author tuber. Subtitle, A Joyful and Uplifting Festive Romance. So I would categorize this as a rom-com with some deep heart. And it's someone who is from England, staying with someone who lives in Scotland for a work assignment and getting integrated into their family life and seeing where things could use some help, and their own life kind of being a mess. And so like people end up helping each other, set during Christmas. Lovely, positive vibes. It's a love story, so it has a happy ever after. What else could you want from a Christmas story? Nothing, in my opinion. I really liked it. So, bye, Julie. Catch the rest on rewatch. Sounds good. We're almost done anyway. So, Kappa is agreeing about the sugar substitutes, and Laura says also could have been the book with the pine tree on the cover. Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Although I think Christmas trees are normally going to be a fir or a spruce, right? This doesn't look sparse enough for a pine tree. I think this is a fir tree, like a Doug fir. But I mean, I made up that they were pine forest. It's probably a spruce forest on the other cover. So you're right. You got me. You got me there. Beth Ann agrees. Scottish Christmas was so sweet. Yes, it's a modern set novel with someone who is stuck at work, stuck in their personal life, and they find love in an unexpected assignment. And it's just lovely and very heartwarming. So there we go. Laura says, don't come at me with facts. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I apologize. I will retract that statement. I should have just combined the two. You're right. I think I did note that at one point, but yeah, I forgot to put it in my show notes. So here we are. Here we are. But that is the bonus prompt, which means we are done. And all these folks have a little over a week. They have 8 days before Christmas to do the tag if they so desire, or save it for next year. No pressure. But thank you for these 5 for tagging me recently. And I love being tagged. So I am using this month actually to catch up on tags. And you may notice today I'm doing 2.5 tags. And Friday I will be doing 3 tags to catch up on, in case you're curious which ones. The Adventurers Assemble, which I did a long time ago, the Coffee book tag, and the beach vacation tag, which is the Leslie tag. So I trying to clean out, declutter before the end of the year, catch up on some tags. Those are some oldies, and these are much more recent. So, yeah, trying to keep up with all y'all. Let me take that down and go back to this and take that down. Then we have some room. Whew. All right, all caught up now. I like that. Don't come at me with facts. Oh, YouTube just sent the link, the notification that you're live. Great job. Great job, YouTube. Thanks. Thanks so much. Yeah. Well, they're trying. So the third tag that I'm not doing today, but I want to bring people's attention to. Why are we not getting bigger? YouTube is being a pain. Let me go back and grab the link here. It's a video by Accidental Bookseller, who's Paul. And it's sort of a sneak peek. So it's not really for the read what you own people, at least the ones who haven't crashed out yet. So I can do it because I have a haul. But Paul at the Accidental Bookseller thought it would be a really fun idea. So I encourage you, if you are not trying to not buy books, to go check out the video and plan a video to release on Christmas Day, because the idea is for people who don't have family around them or excuse me, and will not have that sort of joyous unwrapping of presents, if we can do a video which is a book haul, which is just sort of unwrapping of presents, it's an unboxing or a revealing of books, we can just be there for people to watch the videos together. So it will be like opening a Christmas Day present, but a book tag video, a book haul video. So if you want to participate in that, just go over to Paul's video, tag me so that I can see your haul video and know that I spread the word to you and was responsible for some Christmas joy. But yeah, just a book haul to celebrate Booktube community and feeling together. Thank you, Jenny. Sorry for sneezing. It always happens once a stream, I think. But yeah, that could be some fun if you are someone who has hauled some books. Alan says, I'm inflicting you all with a Christmas quiz rather than a book haul to support Paul. That is a delightful interpretation. I was considering doing a sort of reindeer games. I know there's a readathon called Reindeer Games, but just like a fun, if this happens, do this, sing a song, pick a book, talk about it, whatever. And I may do that next week. We'll see. It's just sort of loosey-goosey. We do things week by week on this channel. It's fine. Erin says, I bought a monstrous regiment of women today, probably my last buy of the year. Loved Beekeeper's Apprentice, right? There's so much action that happens in it, and I just love the humor and the clever mystery part. I think Laurie R. King is a wonderful mystery writer, and so yeah, I think this must be the second in the series, so I hope you love it. It's very fun. Eva says, I haven't shown my books much, so I can pretend to haul. Yeah, whatever. You can do a quiz too. Open to interpretation. I like that part. Jim has 3 books for the haul. Eva says, the kiddo has 4 books as gifts under the tree. Spoiler. Or will once I wrap things. Fair enough. I told my mom she had to get on the wrapping train because I was in her room to help her with some IT issues, and her suitcase was right there with something that looked like it might be a gift for me. And she said, you're not supposed to see that. And I said, well, we have 9 days left, ma'am. It might be a good idea to wrap it up. So there we go. Solidarity. Catpot is rereading Monstrous Regiment by Terry Pratchett. Yes, it is a very compelling title. It's a title to conjure with, I would say, which is another quote paraphrased. The Monstrous Regiment of Women. I'm trying to remember what the reference is to. It's from some, like, misogynist Victorian dude, I think. Yeah. Eva says, "We only just finished shopping today." Well, we're all doing $10 and under except for the kids, so, like, our shopping has been very minimal. It's quality time, it's baked goods, it's, you know, works of service, if you will. So, yeah, we're being chill about it here. But yeah, so that's the 3rd tag that I'm committed to doing, but is not today. I just wanna spread the word and tag all you folks that have the time and inclination to do it, to support the effort, and could be some fun if we all tag each other in there so we can all get to see each other's videos, each other's hauls. That is it for me today. My current reads are the same. Some people have said what they're reading, so I'm not gonna go through my current reads. But yeah, tagged a lot of folks today, catching up on tags. They will keep coming. I will be relentless. So that's what you can expect from me this week and next week, and maybe a few reindeer games, including a song that I'm trying to remember the words to, which is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in French. I remember their tongue twisters. Qui lui reparaissait. And we're going to try to reconstruct the whole song from there. So if you're in for some reindeer games, give that a shout out and you might see it next week. Otherwise, thank you for watching, everybody, whether live or on Team Rewatch and, going through the ads. I appreciate it. Leave a comment with something that you love about Christmas as an emoji or a comment. I appreciate anything. And I will see you again Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific at the normal time for some more tags. And we'll set up, hopefully, a live stream with Grace to talk about Tracks by Louise Erdrich for Solstice. But with that, thank you, thank you. You're welcome, you're welcome. See you at the next one, and take care of yourselves, everybody. Happy reading.